Okay, I'm going to, Cindy, I'll make you host, and then it's over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. I just wanted to start by saying a big thank you to Matt for putting all this together today. And it's been really awesome just seeing all these friendly faces. I've realized how much I miss seeing you all at swim meets. But I've also felt a little bit like a proud kind of mama bear as I've watched people like Rich and Nick Wilson present as well, who I've worked with over the years. So a little bit about me. I'm from a long line of swim mafia. My dad's a coach, my brother's a coach. I obviously got into coaching, and my poor mother sits at the kitchen table listening to us all. So a long line of swim geeks there. I was lucky enough to be the head of aquatics at Bangkok Patana for 8 years before moving on to the athletic director position now. And I work really closely with Rich and also Tim Tripp, and got a lot of colleagues in the room. So thank you for having me. I'm just going to share my screen with you. And bear with me 1 second. I won't show you all my emails. Okay, is that coming through okay? All right. So the presentation today is about attracting and retaining young swimmers. My goal for the presentation for you is that you'll maybe take away 1 or 2 new ideas. It's not particularly groundbreaking stuff. It's just good practical things that you can do in your program next week to help you to get more and more young kids started in our sport, and then ideally keep them in your sport so that they become fabulous seniors for your high school programs. So let's get started. Please do pipe up with any questions. I'm not precious at all, and I'd love to hear your ideas as well. So just a little bit about our context, because it is unique. And unlike Club or Learn to Swim, we have a captive audience, which is quite an interesting perspective. We've got all the students that are enrolled in our school, and that's our audience. And you would think that because of that, we're super lucky. Of course, they'll all come and swim. But it's also a very crowded marketplace because there's limited time after school, and a lot of our schools have a big menu of extracurricular activities. So we're actually competing against the football team and the basketball team and the tennis program and gymnastics and all of those sorts of things. So how are we going to stand out and draw those kids into our program? Our clientele is limited to our enrollment, or is it? Could we also be offering things like what Nick Wilson talked about this morning, wellbeing programs for staff and parents? Or could we be tapping into the local community? And it's a discussion that we sort of periodically are having at Bangkok Patana about how we can broaden our enrollment and our swimming community. Swimming also has that unique selling point that it's a life skill as well as a sport. So make sure that with the young ones, you really capitalize on that and tap into those young parents of the younger kids. So how do you attract swimmers to your team? One of the most powerful ways, and you'll all know this, is to get into that PE curriculum. Help to improve the standard by working alongside the PE teachers and the instructors that you have in your program, but most importantly, start talent spotting. Now, talent isn't always obvious, but it's those kids who move through the water instinctively, who have a great attitude, who are enthusiastic. And we have little recruitment postcards that we have ready so that if we see someone in the PE curriculum and we really think, yeah, they've got a future, we tap them on the shoulder, we give them a recruitment postcard. And there's nothing quite as powerful as that act of being chosen. Someone noticed me and someone invited me, and that makes them feel quite special. And then when it comes time to sign up for the next round of after school activities, you might just have the edge over some of the other activities if they feel seen and chosen. There's other things that really contribute to attracting swimmers to your team. Attractive team uniforms, kids love swag, you know, really nice kit bags. For example, at Bangkok Patana, they invested in some really nice swimming kit bags, and the kids kind of proudly pull them around school and come into school, and only the kids in the team have them, and everyone's dying to join so they can get the special school bag. So little things like that can go a long way to marketing your program to the friends of your current young swimmers. Host lots of short and sweet fun team events. Share your success on your social media. If you're in Rich's talk earlier, he gave you lots of great strategies there. But also think about ways to get into other parts of your existing school marketing strategies. So, You know, do you post stories about the swim team in your school newsletter? Do you have pictures and posters up around on the notice boards in your school? Do you ever, you know, contact the junior school heads and say, hey, can I come and talk at assembly about the swim team and celebrate what we did on the weekend and hand out some ribbons, or share a video of some of the learning that we've been doing after school? All of these are powerful ways to attract kids to our sport. Also, do all the fun stuff: Christmas parties, birthday parties, Halloween. Dress up, make it fun, get involved, because kids want to be part of activities like that. In short, you've got to sell the dream. And then if you build it, they will come. Fundamentals and foundations. So juniors are not mini adults, and they have to be trained according to their own unique needs. And so we have to understand that they're going to progress at their own rate. And we have to be super aware of not getting overexcited about those big, strong early developers and putting way too much pressure on them too soon. They still need to be kids and really enjoy themselves as well. So how can we keep kids engaged? We've got them in the door, we've done our postcards, we've done our advertising, they've seen us at assembly, they've signed up. The number one reason in all of the research that we read about why kids take up sport is their friends. So creating little communities of students who are involved and want to see one another is really important. When you're creating groups, be aware of friendships within there. Make sure that every child who joins their program gets a buddy, because that's going to keep them coming back. It's got to be fun, so make time for the starts, the turns, the finishes, the relays. They will ultimately keep the kids coming back for more. Really big one of mine that I love to harp on about is regular age-appropriate competition experiences. So making sure that we've got fun stuff that kids can come along, race hard and fast with their age group, and then go home. It doesn't always need to be a 3-day championship style meet. It's not appropriate for young learners. It's the first thing that'll turn young families who are juggling lots of commitments off our sport. Improvement and progress should be celebrated at every opportunity. So high fives, fist pumps, incentive schemes, team rewards. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a later slide. And this is a really important one, which we're still working hard at Patana to develop, and that is exposure to the next level through senior swimmer engagement and mentoring. So we make a really big point of getting our seniors to come to the junior meets. They get on the announcing, they help with the marshalling, they do a bit of lifeguarding at the side, and they chat to the kids. We make sure that they know who their captains are. We even do some sessions where the seniors are in the water with the juniors. And that's hugely powerful, because there they are, they're heroes, those older kids from the high school who they look up to, and that as well helps to foster that feeling that you're part of something special that's bigger than yourself. I'm going to share with you a stat in a minute, which I think is absolutely shocking. Have a think. What percentage of 10-year-olds do you think drop out of our sport within 2 years? Put it in the chat if you want to have a guess. What percentage of 10-year-olds drop out of our sport within 2 years? Not 10 years, 2 years. I wasn't very clear there. Right. There you have it. 48 to 50%. Isn't that shocking? There's a recent study conducted in New South Wales swimming out of Australia. Big sample size, nearly 14,000 swimmers, I think, were surveyed, and they tracked them. And the dropout is huge. Now, some of that is masked by the incoming of the next round of swimmers, but clearly this is something that as a sport, we need to pay attention to and be constantly working on by trying new little things to help us retain those youngsters. So we don't have a constant supply of youngsters, we're not going to have any seniors for our programs. Big shout out to Mr. Haley as well for sharing that study with me. What turns swimmers off our sport? I think we know this stuff, but just a reminder, lack of friends. Remember, number one reason they do it is friends. So if they don't have friendship groups in there, or we haven't created the groupings that they're in to ensure that they have that buddy who they can turn to, then it can be really tough. Those big 3-day long championship style meets with long waits between every race, no fun. Very intense parents and coach pressure too early. focusing on medals and trophies and winning all the time, as opposed to the joy of taking part and the progress and improvement that they achieve, and lots of long and boring mileage in there instead of appropriate technical development. So let's talk about the meets. Here's my vision for junior meets that are fun, that keep kids coming back for more. They've got to be done and dusted in 2 hours or less. Think about the average basketball game. You get in the car, mum and dad load you up with your brothers and sisters, you head to the nearest basketball court, you know, you play your game, it takes about an hour, you have your oranges and your Gatorade, get back in the car and go home. It's family friendly. We've got to make sure that for juniors, our sport becomes more family friendly. They need to happen regularly. Remember, that basketball game happens every week. It's the fun bit, the culmination of all their hard work. So ideally, we want them racing, you know, at least once a month, ideally. These events need to include less traditional and fun things like life-saving relays and kickboard races and underwater races and novel ladder relays. Make a difference so that they keep coming back because they're excited to find out what this meet's going to include. Ideally, we focus on personal bests and technical execution and not winners and losers for our under 10s. This is really important and it takes a bit of effort, but with the work of your community, I really recommend trying to create a carnival style atmosphere. Get some food in, hire a vendor or put on a barbecue, crank the music, get a really good kid-friendly Spotify playlist cranking through your campus. You know, maybe someone can arrange a jumping castle or an inflatable that gets put in the pool after your event. Doesn't need to be big and expensive. Kids will just love that opportunity to play. Our kids love temporary tattoos. Nothing gets the young swimmers excited like more than when we bring out the bag of the temporary tattoos. I think it's another way for them to show off on Monday. Oh, I've been to a swim meet on the weekend, and they can show all their non-swimming friends because they've still got their tattoos plastered all over them. We invite swimsuit vendors. Sometimes we'll have a photo booth. We get our big mascot tiger to wander around, give everyone high fives, and things like lucky draws and that. So the more fun you can make it, remember, this is the time of instant gratification. Kids want to come, they want to have fun, and families want it to be quick and easy. So think about how you can create that carnival style atmosphere. Think about fun alternative formats. Does your meet need to be a traditional list of events, or could it be a pentathlon with 5 different events scored across the 5 rather than individually? Could it be an aquathlon, a combination of swimming and running? Could it be a meet just with relays, no individual events? Could it be a meet that's only freestyle? So think outside the box so that we can really engage these young swimmers. And as early as possible, try to create a culture of parent and senior swimmer volunteering. Nothing brings that community of swimmers together like seeing themselves as part of a bigger picture. And if you get parents used to volunteering early on, then as those students progress through your program, those parents will be there supporting you every step of the way. Another idea which works really well is incentive schemes. So we've got junior swimmers and their fee-paying parents, and that is highlighted because that's a reality in international schools. We are working to a fee-paying parent community. They really appreciate and value regular feedback on how their child is progressing. So here are some sort of not new ideas, but things you've maybe seen in the past or that you might already do. Sticker charts to celebrate consistent attendance. You turn up, you get a sticker, you collect a certain number, you can cash it in for some kind of prize. Certificates for key technical milestones. So when they master their first tumble turn, those kinds of things. These days, taking video clips of your children in action and then sharing them on a regular basis, especially as they achieve key milestones. Badge and tag schemes. There's lots of them out there, but you could also create your own where they earn little bag tags or little badges to sew on their team t-shirt as they acquire certain skills or swim certain distances for the first time. Bring mum and dad to training days. That might be every day at your school. Certainly feels like it at ours sometimes. But having specific days where you bring mum and dad to training and they're invited to sit in a certain area of the pool and watch the training, you can go over and have a chat to the mums and dads, explain what the session's about, and they get to watch their child in action with a little bit of a running commentary from you, are really highly valued by lots of communities. Ribbons when they set new PBs, Swimmer of the Week certificates or caps or social media posts. Speeding tickets, I love this one. When they break through certain time barriers, they're issued with a speeding ticket. And then special t-shirts and caps when they compete in every stroke and certain distances across the year in swim meets. All of these are little ideas I'm sure you've seen before that can keep those junior swimmers on that track of enjoying their training, sticking with it, and becoming part of your team. And I encourage you to employ the 4-week rule. So if there's not been any kind of positive reinforcement or anything sent home in the last 4 weeks, then it's been too long. And I really encourage you to adopt that kind of philosophy. Let's talk just briefly about the training, because I focus more on the program aspects as opposed to the training itself. Quality over quantity is definitely the goal with little people. Lots of kick, it's fundamental. Every coach will tell you that little people need to kick a lot so that they're strong and they build that base. Skills, 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 and then some more skills to make sure that they don't plateau later in their swimming career because they've got faults that have been acquired through poor technical instruction as youngsters that then hold them up later. Lots of starts, turns, and finishes. And for kids these age, they don't even see that as skill development. They see that as the fun stuff. So get involved. Ideally, you want a program that's IM focused so that they can swim all 4 strokes and then can specialize later in their career. And loads of relays, team challenges, and mini racing. It's also quite important that where possible, we put our teacher or educator hats on and we ask the children to get actively involved in their learning. So things like peer coaching, where they team up, one's a coach, one's a swimmer, they watch one another and they practice giving each other feedback. Or where we have little discussions and they're asked to think about a topic together in a partnership, share with each other what they think and then share with the group. You might even get kids involved in mini video analysis by taking a little video and then having a discussion with them about what they can see. And it's in that Q&A where the really amazing learning happens. Right, I am going to unshare. I've spoken very fast, which I always do. Bear with me. Stop the share there. Okay. So I really just wanted to leave plenty of time for anyone to ask any questions or open up to an open forum if anyone has any other ideas. But hopefully that's just reminded you of the real importance of the bottom of that pyramid for all of us. We want a constant supply of really keen little people who at the heart of things love our sport, and then we'll be in a good place for the long term. Any questions? Too tired to think anymore? It's always good to get the graveyard shift.
Cindy, I have a question. I hate the graveyard shift, by the way.
That's why they save you the best till last, right?
Oh,
Yes,
that's right. Thank you.
Cindy.
Who was that?
It's Adrian.
Cheers, Adrian.
Someone had, Nick earlier had talked about Friday swim meets, and now you did the same thing, and it's true, 2 hours in and out, done and dusted. That is great. But if you're gonna add carnival and the jumping, whatever you call it, and barbecue, just organizing that's gonna take you 10 hours. You know what I mean?
True, but I guess it's not the reason you do that stuff is not for that 2 hours, right? It's for the investment in the long-term success of your program. A kid whose first swim meet has a barbecue, cranking music, a high five from a mascot, and then you play on the jumping castle afterwards is asking mum and dad, when is the next swim meet? When is the next swim meet?
Yeah.
And
well,
then
how often are you going to be able to do that as a coach when you have other responsibilities too?
Look, it does depend on the resources you have and you know, the time that you want to allocate it to it. But I mean, the goal is to be having some kind of touch base or experience for those kids at least once a month, if possible, because we're competing against, you know, the football team who have a game every weekend. We're competing against the seasonal basketball where they play twice a week against other schools. So if we're going to really capture those kids, I do think we need regular fun and engaging stuff. Now, I'm not saying that every single event you run has to have a jumping castle and a mascot. That's not sustainable. But it's about changing it up and thinking outside the box and making sure that they're hungry for more.
Sounds good.
Anyone else? Just
I
please
do have
shout
one
out.
more, sorry. About the
George, come
parents.
on.
I know, and I asked it before about the parents, having them on the pool deck, you said a little bit, Nick, and don't you think we're giving them too much?
To be honest, I listened to your question before. My approach with parents has always been they're much better. It's always better to work with them than against them. And you're going to have a little cohort of nutcases in every single program. But the reality is 97% of people are going to be really cool. And if you engage them and you make them volunteers and you give them meaningful jobs and you're talking to them about their children's progress, they'll stay in that 97% most of the time. And actually, it's like that Sun Tzu stuff, like keep your, what is it? What's the quote from Sun Tzu? You keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I'd rather my problem parents were sitting on deck telling it to my face than on some idiot WhatsApp group talking behind my back, because then I can work with them, I can educate them, I can try and make them a partner in what we're doing.
I think there's a cruder version to do with on the inside pissing out than the outside pissing in, and I certainly think that stands true with some of the
Polite,
parents.
Rich, just try to be polite.
I'm with you guys. I think you get all the parents involved, and look, we've all been burned at some time by that one, but like, we talked about it before, Rich, the communication's there. I mean, most of us are parents, or a lot of us are parents, and like, you don't suddenly change to not be a human when you become a parent. And I think from what I've learned, and you know, I've been lucky, I have to say, we've had a lot of support, but we have had one probably quite bad one, and in the end, the rest of the parents came to my rescue, actually, in many ways, for that one person who really wanted to ruin everything. You know, the fact that we built that and we'd not kept them. Now, if I'd kept them at a distance, I am sure that could have snowballed in a much worse way. Now, don't get me wrong, they've not got my personal phone number. I'm not WhatsApping anybody or anything like that. But yeah, I believe in that. I do believe in that, but I can see why. I can see why on the opposite side as well, because it can create issues. But
I think it's our responsibility to educate our parents too about how we want them to interact with us. So, you know, let's have a coffee morning at the beginning of the year and lay out our vision. And part of that coffee morning is a slide that says, when I'm coaching, I really want to focus on your children. So don't come and tap me on the shoulder while I'm talking to your children. If you want to approach me at this time, and then let's sit down, let's have a nice coffee, let's have a chat. And, you know, taking that approach of outlining it right at the beginning of the year, and all our coaches do that across all our academy programs. They set out a preferred communication method, and most parents are really, really willing to get on board and communicate with you in that way, because you're saying, yep, I'm available, I'm open to you, but this is how it works best.
Yeah, I think we got to remember, it's not just the journey of the kids, it's a journey of the parents as well. I mean, I come from, you know, parents. The reason why I got into swimming was because my dad doesn't know how to swim and he nearly drowned twice in his life. So they hadn't a clue about swimming. And I think we've got to realize that we're taking not just the kids, we need the parents to understand why we're doing things as well. I think it's very important that we do bring them along for that journey.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Hi, Cindy.
Sorry. Go on, Jake.
Just really simple. Like, I guess I'm kind of new to dealing with parents and stuff, and obviously we don't get to that much. But if you had to, very minimalistically, if you had to kind of use one sentence or one phrase to kind of sum up everything you've just been talking about, like, what if there's one thing that you keep saying in your head before you send an email, before you walk on a poolside with the kids or whatever, what would that one phrase be? Sorry, that might be kind of a...
In relation to parents?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think the main one is that every parent loves their child. And if you just say to yourself, this person's behaving and talking to me because they love their child so much. And in my case, I can even feel it because I can say they love their child as much as I love my daughter. It's suddenly so easy to have empathy for them, even if they're being an absolute prat who's not considering anyone else except themselves. Because we all do it. And when you truly love someone, and if you don't have kids yet, you know, think about it's your mum, you know, sometimes you love that person so much that you want the best for them. So it's very easy to forgive a parent if you start from that position. And I know that's a bit kind of woo-woo and a bit lovey-dovey, but it's true. That's why they come marching into your office, because they love their kid. And if you start from there, you almost never go wrong, I think.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you. Glad I could bring a tear to your eye at the end of 4 hours.
Cindy, to add to that, Jake, I would say always add the 2-minute delay when it gives you the option to undo emails. That can work wonders as well. Cindy, just on a more of a comms front, you're saying about you try to send something every 4 weeks. Do you track it?
So I at the moment, I'm not directly working in aquatics, but yes, I used to track it. So I would program out across the year the different incentives and when they would happen. And then we'd have a big sort of master spreadsheet. And I worked really closely with Nick Wilson on this when we set it all up. And we tracked it so closely, actually, that we were able to use it for gap analysis. So we were actually able to work things out like, oh, we did the backstroke skill award, hardly anybody got it compared to the breaststroke, butterfly and freestyle skill award. What on earth's going on there? Okay, we definitely need CPL for our coaches on how to coach backstroke, because we also did the backstroke fun gala and there weren't as many AAA times as there were AA and single A times from our team. So, you know, there's a problem here. We're not getting it quite right. So I think if you have the capacity to do that and track it, it can be really powerful.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I hope you found that useful. And I imagine you probably need a little stretch before we hit the round tables. Is that right, Rich?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not too sure. On the list that I got from Matt, I think we're staying in this room, but I'm going to send him a message. Given that we're finished, I'm going to suggest we move over to his room, so then he can be in charge of it. So thank you for your time in this room, and I'll see you over at the other room in the next couple of minutes. But thank you very much to Cindy. A great insight, and I'm very lucky to work with her on a day-to-day basis. And what she's preaching is very much what she did. She left a very good legacy at Tiger Sharks, and it's why there continues to be success now, because of lots of the things that she implemented when she was in charge.
Thanks,
So, yeah,
guys.
thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thank you, Cindy. Cheers.